Good afternoon, Mets fans, and welcome to a Tuesday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and it's been a few days since my last video, and not a whole heck of a lot great has happened for the Mets. Injury news, shocker. Wilmer Flores broke his face on a foul ball. The most improbable type of foul ball injury that you could expect. Of course, it would happen to a Met, and it would have to happen to Wilmer. But the Mets played a weekend series in Houston, lost all 3 games, and yesterday picked up a home series with the Philadelphia Phillies. And I joked on Twitter that at least the Mets can count on the Phillies to make them feel like an MLB level team again. And that's just the sad reality of the situation, looking at where the Mets stand right now in 2017. Moving away from the Phillies series, I want to talk a little bit about the weekend set in Houston. Of course, as everyone knows, it was an emotional 3-game series played over the course of 2 games in Minute Maid Park, and taking away the consequences surrounding Hurricane Harvey and the damage it did in Houston. My takeaway from the weekend series with the Astros was just how night and day different the franchises on the field are. The Astros have a level of energy and youth and just a positive vibe around their team, whereby the Mets have seemingly completely the opposite. And right now it's weird to see because the Mets have so many young players on the field. Yet, at least for me, watching the Mets play, it's not fun. Even watching guys like Gavin Cecchini get at bats and Brandon Nimmo get at bats, it's just not fun. And it's different for me. This has been the hardest season to endure that I can remember, and this is including the collapse years of 07 and 08. The just really awful years that followed that in 09 through really 2013. This has just been abysmal to watch, to the point where I don't even care to watch anymore, and that's tough for me because I've always watched. I've always watched every game. My Mets trivia question today was, or over the weekend actually, I answered it this morning, was who threw the first complete game by a Met pitcher in Citi Field. And the answer was Nelson Figueroa. It happened on October 4th, 2009, and I remember the game. I was mowing my lawn and I was listening to the game on MLB TV. I watched every game. I always have. And this year I've just struggled to watch. I don't want to complain about it. It is what it is. The Mets are terrible right now. But the Wilmer Flores injury being as freak as it is, it just brings back to the table the fact that this team is so injury-ridden and so plagued by injury that I think the number one off-season chore, task, if you will, is to reevaluate the training process for every player on this team. And this nonsense of strength training and weight training and bulking up and getting muscular, it needs to go away because clearly there's a problem with it. You can't help the fact that Wilmer fouls a ball off his face, all right? That happens. But, the Conforto injury, that's a shoulder injury that happens on a swing and a miss. Cespedes' legs, these are injuries that could have been avoided. Syndergaard's putting on all that muscle and straining his lat. All of these things, to me, tie back to the training method in the off season, and I'm going to listen to guys like Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez when they talk on the broadcasts about how they trained when they played, and they never did the kind of strength training that players today do. They did cardio, and honestly, that's what I want to see. I want to see that change for the Mets, because for a guy like Cespedes, he doesn't need to hit the ball further. He needs to stay on the field. Okay, he doesn't need more muscle. He needs more flexibility. He needs to be more agile. He needs to have better cardio. That's it. Honestly, that's for me, that's the number one thing I'm looking at. player evaluations aside, I want this team to be healthier, and I want them to stay on the friggin' field. And I'm done watching a team so plagued by injuries constantly and having what we think is going to be a huge amount of depth turn out to be no depth at all. And you look at a team like the Dodgers, who have more more players on the DL than any other team in baseball. They're able to win despite that. So, if this is really the way the game is evolving, where we just have to expect all these superstar players to be hurt all the time, then the Mets need to figure out how to become more like a team like the Dodgers, which seem to be better equipped to deal with all of these injuries all the time. So, anyhow, back to the series at hand. Yesterday, Montero pitched. It was his follow-up to his 8 1/3 inning gem that he tossed last week against the Reds. He didn't pitch as well, but he didn't pitch badly. And I'm still not sold on Montero. But hey, he was able to shut the Phillies down for the most part, and their offense has been a little bit better of late. So, whatever. Montero might prove to be a valuable piece for next year. He's been one of the very few bright spots down the stretch here as a Mets fan to just sort of enjoy, if there's anything to enjoy. So the Mets continue their series tonight. DeGrom is on the mound, and hopefully Jake can bounce back from what was a pretty bad performance at the Great American Ballpark last week. So the Mets play tonight. Unfortunately, I cannot watch because of blackout restrictions, whatever. But I'll be listening, so hopefully the Mets can pull off another W and pull themselves away from the really abysmal last place Phillies. That's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it as always. If you're not already doing so, please follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. And as always, despite it being painful, let's go Mets.